Hello everyone. For today's video, I will be discussing the 6v6 problem we have in Overwatch 2 and the solution I came up with that I think will save 6v6 and the core problems that 6v6 OpenQ has. I do want to put in here that I have done some critical thinking and some non-biased opinions that has helped me come to my conclusion, and I think if it's not for everyone, there will be people that will agree with me by the end of this video, and the solution that I am sure will help this format and the issues it has today. For those that don't know, I am top 500 in 6v6 OpenQ. I do play on console, however, it's Overwatch nonetheless. I am on my alt account on this video, so don't mind me. I'm on the video here, just on my alt account playing with some friends, just helping them rank up. But anyways, so first we have to acknowledge what got us to this point of me having to make this video or feeling like I had to make this video in the first place. I promise to not drag out a lot of my opinions while still giving out my full thoughts and keeping the video at a certain length for everyone to not feel too overwhelmed with information. Alright, so the very first issue of 6v6, as it has officially came back to Overwatch 2, is its balance more than anything. The game mode seems to be overlooked and or treated as a here it is, now shut up type of game mode for those who was advocating for 6v6 and wanted its return. 6v6 has yet to receive balance changes and thus has sparked hero issues, with one in which coming to mind is Ramatra. He is very broken in 6v6, with his sustain and overall kit being way too oppressive in combination with like 5 other players. Besides the Ramatra, other players besides the Ramatra, sorry about that. I do have ideas for a tune-up for him in 6v6 for the character to be more fair to play against, but I do want to keep that for a separate video. Ram is also not the only problem in 6v6, as there are other characters that need balance, but I don't want to stray away from the video too much, so I will also have a topic on that for like another video. So you guys can be on the lookout for that if you guys are interested on like the balance, my view on the balance side of 6v6. But like I said in the beginning, the balance for 6v6 is one of its biggest downfalls due to them not ever patching or looking at 6v6. However, this is not to say the game mode is entirely unbalanced in my opinion. I haven't seen 6v6 so much more flexible in terms of comps you can play, and heroes are viable in regards to a certain map or situation with perks, adding on a positive effect to this as well. With that being said, we are going to get into the sweet spot of this video, and that is that 6v6. The 6v6 game mode is OpenQ. This, at least in my opinion, is the biggest issue 6v6 has and is the only reason it has been played much or not shining over 5v5. Remember when the 6v6 comp mode first dropped? Like, everyone was playing, newer and older players alike, even content creators and pro players, and by what I remember, there were more positive reviews than negatives during the first beginning of the test, with even some content creators openly saying that 6v6 should come back and be the future of Overwatch. With that being said, 6v6 has its positives and an audience and even a potential to outshine 5v5, at least in my opinion. Over time, 6v6 has stayed and been with us a total of 2 seasons, with this one making it 3, but what does that have to do with the game mode being OpenQ, right? Well, with players playing 6v6 and 6v6 making its return, that means issues that can be more prominent than others in lower ranks compared to higher ranks. This issue primarily being role picking in lower ranks. I have friends that I would love to play 6v6 with and that they would love to play 6v6 but don't enjoy it due to getting into games where players will pick 4 to 5 DPS and 1 support and no tank, or even sometimes like 1 tank and the whole backline is like DPS and like 1 support. You're just destined to fail at that point, and like it's just so bad. I've seen it before. It's just really bad. I was looking into this issue in another game which everyone is familiar to, Marvel Rivals, a game that is similar to Overwatch. From what I've seen and heard, and please feel free to correct me in the comments, is that Marvel Rivals players at one time wanted a role log, but the devs responded no, in return making Rivals players have to deal with those situations. Alright, so I'm not really big into Marvel Rivals. Like I said, if I'm wrong, please correct me, but moving on. Overwatch is its own game with different developers, and the devs of Overwatch are more open to making game-changing solutions for the betterment of the players and, of course, the game itself now than ever, which I am a firm believer in. I do think this dev team, if they concentrate on 6v6, can blow this game out of the water. It'll be back on the map, at least in my opinion. Now, I'm openly going to say that, yes, this is 6v6's biggest problem in Overwatch, is the fact that it is open queue, and this is basically going to be the topic for the remainder of the video, just a heads up. So I'm just going to let you guys know just right there, but I do have a solution, and I'm going to be sharing that with you shortly. But this over time has led me to the solution for 6v6, and what I believe to be the best change to this issue, and I hope that this video reaches out to bigger content creators so it can be considered. This change that I am talking about is a min2 max2 style of open queue for 6v6. Just in case you are confused to what that means, allow me to elaborate. If you ever played the 6v6 game mode, you know the limited number of tank players to only 2. So they limited to the tank players to like literally only 2 for competitive integrity. So you won't just be playing goats, and like multiple tanks and stuff like that. Only with the rest of the roles coming to the limit in how much it can be picked and played in a match, right? Well, imagine we take what we did with the tanks but gave it to every role allowing only 2 of every role to be played. Now, I know that certain people will have questions like, what if there are a number of DPS players and more support players, or even tank players? Well, this problem happens no matter what in open queue, and it even happens in Marvel Rivals. However, this solution offers something that normal open queue doesn't force, or I should say give, and it's called competitive integrity, guys. Competitive integrity. And I'm going to dive more into this like right now. Players don't like to feel like a game is simply over at the beginning of the match because the team comp is awful due to like a poor role choices, right? Like I said before, like 4 DPS. Like that's just like you're going to lose. Min2 Max2 fixes those issues because only 2 per role is allowed to be played during a match. I feel very confident that this is the main issue of 6v6 and the reason why players aren't playing it as much. When there is not enough players, it lowers queue times, and this affects higher elo players the most. In 5v5, people claim it to be more compy, in which I can see why people will say that. After all, it is the main format of the game, at least for right now. However, we've also had 5v5 open queue before 6v6 came in and took its place. And 5v5 open queue had very, very little amount of players consistently playing. I know this because I used to queue 5v5 open queue a lot because I just didn't like single tanking, and sometimes finding games were very difficult. 6v6 coming into open is the only reason open queue is getting the attention it does now, and is the very reason I am making this video. But why didn't 5v5 open queue thrive just like 6v6, if not almost the same as 6v6 open queue? This is because of the player base preferred the competitive integrity of having a role lock. Even in Marvel Rivals, players wanted a role lock, and maybe they still do. I have like no clue if they still do or not. I have no knowledge of Marvel Rivals besides that. Please, literally, please just work with me. I literally have no experience in Marvel Rivals, so if I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. However, min2 max2 will be able to fix big issues like queue times, as it is still an open queue, just locked after a certain amount of players select that certain role. Now, this does not fully fix the problem of players being able to play their main preferred role, as roles can still be openly picked. However, problems like that happen in the tank role in 6v6 today, as I am a tank player and find myself flexing either support or DPS, which I'm usually fine with because tanks are only limited to 2. Players can also at any time swap roles to others if need be, so this also adds to my opinion on why I think min2 max2 will work and should be considered and or tested. Let us not forget we have hero bans, which can also help if someone is flexing, so they can avoid getting countered so easily. With them only having 2 tanks on the field in open queue, this adds on the chances that you may get a flex DPS or support, which probably happens more than not in 6v6 limited to only 2 tanks, which does happen a lot. I do find myself with multiple tank players and they end up flexing. Now, some will also argue about the hindrance of creative comps that open queue can allow, and even through moving to a min2 max2 style of open queue will get rid of that. In my opinion, and this is just my opinion, things like that are already gone. Like creative comps are gone, guys. I really think with just things being limited to only 2 tanks, the creative part of things, it's just gone. It's just like completely gone. I'm sorry, but like having multiple DPS that can feel like you're playing a quick play match, and I just, to me, it doesn't feel like a competitive integrity match, and players don't like that at all, right? So, you know, this is why I do think Min 2 Max 2 is the go-to here, right? Like, if you're playing with like multiple DPS, it feels like you're playing a quick play match than a competitive match, and if the enemy team is any type of good, your team will most likely lose. There's like no shot. That doesn't sound like a comp match to me, or what a comp match should feel like. People like competitive integrity, and regular open queue can't provide that. In addition, I am, like I said, a top 500 6v6 player, and players prefer the 2-2-2 style of Overwatch. And I will mention that I play against that more often than not in 6v6 open queue. Whenever I get a game, I usually go against a 2-2-2 composition. Sometimes I will go against 2 tanks and 3 support and 1 DPS, which feels very unhealthy to play against, and it's very, like, I don't know if anybody has played against a good team that's running like 2 tanks with like 3 healers, like you have like a Zen and then like 2 other healers and then like 1 DPS. I'm trying to tell you guys, it doesn't feel good to play against, and it just doesn't feel good to play against than like 2-2-2. Okay, I just want to put it out there, at least for me. I have more to go into, but I wanted this to be a stepping stone to talk and show a problem that can spark more attention and possibly a solution. This, for right now, is the end of the video. Like I said, I wanted to keep this short. However, I am thinking of continuing this topic furthermore in another video. For right now, this is it, and I hope that this gave light to a solution that can be solved. Goodbye, and please share your thoughts and opinions in the comments, and please share this video so we can reach out to more people and even bigger content creators. This is it. Goodbye for now, and see you guys next time on the next video. Peace out.